Okay.
This is October 28th. October 29th, 2008.
Right. Okay. So just start. Yeah. So the first thing here, I'll go down and show me, like this is your purse,
This
right?
this is my purse. And this is the beginning. It's the beginning of a horrible crime of humanity.
Okay, start again. So, I'm going to say it again. This is the beginning, right?
This is the beginning of a horrible crime of humanity that started on May 15th at 10:30 in the morning at my boyfriend's house. And
okay, I have to stop you. Okay. So
I just have to do it, Margie.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Show me. And this is the purse.
This is the purse.
This is your purse.
This is my purse. And I had these stupid little, I don't even know where I got them, slips, but they ended up being the most important slips of my entire life because they contain information.
Oh, really? Like you just wrote them down on something?
I just wrote them down. And I got the police officers, their badge numbers and their names, who came to my rescue.
Let's see.
Sergeant Craig Campbell, Officer John McBurney, who we saw today, Michael Goodnack, who was a big part of this, and I was tragically violated and beaten, and it's really hard to understand the ramifications, and I don't even know if that's a word, but it is to me, because it's a realm of my identity, and the justification, my realm of life was unjusted on that day, was totally disrupted, and my whole inside of life changed. And everything and everybody in my sweet little uptown yuppie neighborhood of Shadyside all became ugly and evil for no reason. I didn't know who or what was coming at me, but I knew something wanted to kill me. And it was all from this bad beating, because I wouldn't pay a cell phone bill. A $58 cell phone bill. And I can't look at the pictures, but I have to show them for the people.
Here's what I want you to do. Start with the beginning. Start at the beginning now and tell the story of what happened. Just tell me the story.
Of what he did?
Or just tell me the story. Like Nick was your... Yeah.
Nick was my boyfriend. He was my boyfriend.
Wait, start over.
He was my... I knew him as a friend. And for a few years. And after my partner died in December, I started running into him more in the neighborhood. So we kind of latched on and started to date a little bit. Started to date.
And he also told you stuff.
And he also told
Remember,
me stuff.
he said, he'd been waiting for you.
He'd been waiting for me all these years. He told me stuff that I really wanted to hear after my partner in life of 10 years died. Something that somebody would, want a prince in shining armor to show up and say. But
what?
It wasn't so.
Right, what did he say?
He just said, oh, you were much more beautiful than this girl, Beth. And I thought, that's such a lie. I knew then it was a lie. Because this woman was beautiful that he went out with 10 years ago.
But he said other stuff, too.
But he said...
He said, about loving you or waiting
for you.
He said about
loving me, and he knew that he couldn't come near me with Bert around, and he wouldn't even look at me. He said he wouldn't even look at me, but he was always admiring me and loving me from a distance. That's what he said.
Right.
That's what got me.
Because that's what you told me.
That's what got me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That he was waiting for you.
He was waiting.
That he'd loved you all this
He
time.
loved me all this time. just stuff, you know, that he would want to really be, but it wasn't at all. And he was really bad on drugs, which I kind of knew a little, but not really. He hid it very well, which had to be incredibly well, because I am a surviving, recovering addict myself. So I can identify one immediately. I can pick them off the streets and not even talk to you for 1 minute. I could probably tell you your drug of choice and how long you've been using and what you're using, and not even talk to you, just look at your face. That's how well I know. So he was incredibly smart.
So how did he do it?
Incredibly smart. He was borderline genius. He has an IQ of 156. Truly. He could have been anything in the world. He probably could have been president. And he chose to be a loser, gun-slugging, gun-dealing, drug dealer, and hid it so well under being a master tile guy and looking very construction strong, handsome. Of course, he didn't look handsome today, but he looked handsome back then. He dyed his hair black, and just so I you know, he robbed me. He beat me. I wish the wounds were, you know, the
Well,
easy
tell the
part.
story. So what happened? So he's your boyfriend now, right?
He was my boyfriend. And
For how long?
We were dating for 6 months. For 6 months, about. From January till about May, 5 or 6 months. And I was going back and forth, living a little bit here, living a little bit there. And I was staying with him, and I had stuff there. And his place was a wreck. I remember going in there saying, nobody could possibly live here.
Really?
He hadn't taken out the garbage in a year. It stunk so bad. I had to totally fumigate the apartment to even walk in. I had to throw out the trash myself, throw out the garbage can, get him a new garbage can. It was, I don't even know, why didn't I see the disruption in his life? How did I miss that? Because it was so
did you miss
obvious.
that? I don't know. How did you miss that?
Because I was in so much grief of losing Bert, of losing my partner, my good partner, the partner who really loved me, protected me, went to the gym, always wanted the best for me, took care of me well, and I took care of him. We took care of each other. And it was hard at times, but he really down deep underneath always just wanted the best. He just wanted me to stay clean.
That's what I want too. But he really helped.
He really helped. He really helped me. He gave me strength. He gave me strength. And
I just have to shake my hand.
so
So go back. So you're that. You need to say that part of the story. So Nick was your.
So
Could you
he was my
tell me if
boyfriend.
this is too much? But it's not,
Yeah.
right? So it was. So tell me that Nick was your boyfriend.
yeah, I mean, what do you want me to say?
Well,
He
just
was
from
my
there, he was your boyfriend, and then
he
say what
beat me up.
happened.
He beat me up because I wouldn't pay the cell phone bill.
I mean, how did
woke
it
up-
happen?
I woke up in the morning and I was drinking coffee, and he says, "You have to pay my cell phone bill or I'm going to lose my job." And I had already paid the cable. I was doing stuff and working and going up the street and working and doing some really good work. And and I knew he was really getting bad. What he told me twice already, like within that month, that he had gone to pay the cell phone bill. And he had the money and he didn't. And I said, "Nick, you told me, like, I'm not doing it.
So what was he
I'm
getting
not
bad
fucking
doing?
it."
Sorry.
He was doing crack and heroin and steroids. He was doing a lot of steroids. He went crazy. He snapped into an animal. And I turned around and laid back in bed, and he pulled me and grabbed me by the back of my hair and pulled me out of bed and threw me physically on the floor and started to choke me. Physically choke me to try and kill me. And I was fighting. I said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And somehow I got my legs, my strong little skinny little legs, and somehow I got them up underneath, and I got them and I pushed this 200-pound, 6'2" man off of me. And I got up and I tried to run, and he grabbed me again and he hit me. And he just freaked. He just started hitting, and he wouldn't stop. And I was freaking out. I was like, Nick, stop it, stop it. You don't know what you're doing. Stop it. You're hurting me. You're hurting me. Stop. You're snapping. That's all I kept saying was stop. Stop, stop, stop. You're going to kill me. And he was going to kill me with his bare hands. He was going to kill me. And I somehow got him away, and I grabbed the cat because he was coming, and the cat was freaking out. And I grabbed my cat and got in the bathroom, and he kicked the bathroom door open. And I was yelling out the window to the workers next door, down 911, screaming for my life. And then he tried to throw me out the window, down 150 feet from this second-story apartment building.
God, Terry.
And I was holding onto the cat and trying to save us both. Not to go out that window and die. Not to go out the window and die. I was looking at the ground saying, God, please don't let me die. Don't let me go to that ground. Somehow I pulled back in and we fell on the floor. And I ran and he slammed my head into the wall. He slammed my head into the wall. And I went down again. And he knew that those guys, they were yelling, and he said, the police are coming, and he ran out of the apartment building.
They yelled, the police are coming?
They yelled, the police were coming. And I went, and he ran. He ran, and the police came so fast. I don't know what those construction workers said, but they were there instantly. There were 2 zones, 2 police zones from 2 separate parts of the city. Those guys must have said there's a homicide about to be going on. This girl's gonna die. Because they came so quick. And they brought their guns in their cars. And they went chasing after him on every street through the neighborhood. There were 8 to 10 police cars. I mean, you would have thought he'd killed the president. And they were looking for him, and they got him. They got him on the street, hiding in between the houses. And they brought him back. And I was in there crying. And the paramedics came, and I was bleeding. I was bleeding, and I was hysterical. And this nice guy, they took me and brought me, and they sat me in their truck, and they said, the police are here, and the paramedics came, and they treated me medically. And they had put a neck brace on. I was really badly beaten up. I have to show you the pictures. I just do. I can't look at them, but you have to see what he did.
Oh, Terry, I don't know if I can look at these.
You have to. This is my neck, with his bare hands. This is my face. That's him beat me with his bare hands that bad. That's my face. He slammed my head off the wall, a black eye, my mouth, and look at the choke marks. You have to see the choke marks. how, but that day, it started with these two little pieces of paper. Two simple, small little notepads. And a couple of police officers' names. That's all I had. I had one phone number, Sergeant Campbell, and a couple of arresting officers. And this one police officer took me downtown, and she said, you have to go, we have to get you to the hospital. And I was so worried about my cat. Then I said, I have to take my cat home. She was so nice, and she said, I will take you to take your cat home. And we'll go in, and we'll get him settled. And this woman police officer I couldn't even think. I could not think that day. I don't really even remember. But all I know is she brought me here, and we dropped the cat off, and she said, I'm taking you down. You have to press charges. And I didn't even know what to do or anything. And she took me down. She stayed with me. And
she took you down where?
To the courthouse, and we pressed charges. And I filed a report. And I was handed, another piece of information. It was the domestic violence. I don't know if I have it. I do. I was handed this on the first day. And release notification and program for victims of domestic crimes. And then I started to write other little pieces of information. A name here, a number there. I started to, I started the process of I started the process of prosecution of somebody trying to kill me, which I never knew how to do. I was going into this blind.
And how did you get started again? Because of that woman, right?
Because of that woman, the police officer, and
say that again, just like the police
officer. Yes, and so
who took the pictures?
I took the pictures. My girlfriend had come over, and I had called. I don't remember, but my girlfriend, I knew I needed pictures for evidence. I just knew. I knew I had to get the pictures. I knew I had to get, a photograph of what I looked like, because you could never describe that. I knew the wounds would heal, but I knew that this would be... Actually, I didn't know. I didn't know.
What did you know?
All I knew is that I needed pictures of the wounds. But I didn't know that the wounds were the easy part. The wounds were the easy part.
What made you start the process, Terry? What made you decide to do it? I mean, what...
I just... Because things started to change for me. My life started to change. And I became incredibly afraid of everything and everybody. Incredibly afraid. And I, who have walked through the streets of hell and back and survived, was all of a sudden afraid when I had been fearless my whole life for 40 years. I had been fearless. And this was a totally new concept. Like, where is this fear coming from? Why do I think this person is looking at me? Why do I think that person is looking at me? That guy's gonna kill me with his wallet. I mean, or he's gonna, slice my throat with a credit card. I mean, I started thinking all these crazy stuff. I didn't know where it was coming from. And I became incredibly afraid, even in my own apartment. I mean, it almost got to the point where I thought my own cat was going to kill me in the middle of the night. Poor little innocent G, who I love, and has been my buddy, and my softness through this.
Right, that's like,
So,
that,
and
say a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
What it,
and the next thing was, on May 22nd was the first hearing.
let me zoom in.
And May 22nd was the first hearing, 10 days after the beating. And his family and his relatives come from a lot of money. And I was against...
Just say that part again.
His family and relatives came from a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They lived in a very rich neighborhood. They're commercial property, real estate, politically connected. I mean, I was against all odds. And I was so afraid. I thought I could never win this. They're never going to believe me. And I knew that they would pay and do anything to get him off. And they have. They tortured me. They called me for months, and I had to get a new cell phone. They would call and hang up, or they would call and say, "Where are you? Is this Theresa?" and just hang up. And they started to stalk me and escalate the fear. They started to escalate the fear one step at a time. And then they would knock on my back window or ring my doorbell. And I called, and somehow word got back to them that if they weren't going to leave me alone, I was going to file another charge.
Who did you call?
I called the police again. I called them again, and I called the district attorney. I called Becky Auld, and she was there from the very beginning with me. And it's very rare that an assistant district attorney, usually the assistant will take the first case, and then through the trials, the different hearings, the proceedings, they switch at the end. Like, they just collect the very beginning information, and then it gets shifted. But I was so frantic and so desperate for somebody to believe me, that who these people were and what I was up against, and that I wanted justice. I wanted justice. I wanted them to leave, stop torturing me, to stop harassing me, and I wanted them to take responsibility. And
So you were back at the point where Becky kept the case.
I was back at the point where Becky kept the case, and
so she didn't shift you to someone else.
She didn't shift me to somebody else.
That's really important.
That's really important. She did not shift me to somebody else. As a matter of fact, this incredible district attorney specifically requested to hang on to this case.
Can you say her name again? Because
Becky Auld, specifically,
Mm-hmm.
from the district attorney from Pittsburgh, specifically requested to hang on to this case. She was seeing it through all the way. And so we did. And other things came up. There was a weapon involved, and that was stolen, and a weapons charge. And I had to go to that. They tried to involve me in that. And I survived that. And the detectives came here. Detective Jellison and McCannison came and said, "This is what's going on. We need your statement. Because if you don't tell us now, you're going to be charged with weapons. An assault rifle."
How did that happen? He made that up? He tried?
No, it was real. He had one. But he tried to say I was in on it. To try to say or
I don't
do
think I knew
anything
that, Terry.
to get out. And that got dismissed. It got dropped, and I specifically testified and said I was not involved. And people started to believe me because I was doing and communicating with everybody. I would call the detectives, I would give them my statement, they would show up at my house unannounced. I wasn't doing drugs. They would come here 9 o'clock at night on a Friday, and I'd say hi and hold out my hand. How are you? Come on in. I would love to talk. What's
Really? Is
going
that what you
on?
did?
That's what I did.
And they came here on Friday night?
They came here on a Friday
Really?
night. Would you like some coffee? No, we're good. And they believe me. So we move on to the next step. And they started to leave me alone, actually. And they started to realize that this girl was going to fight. That she's not going away. She's not leaving.
Who started to leave you alone?
The family. The family. Okay?
But then don't forget about grilling.
Oh, yeah, grilling. And then his stupid friend accused me of taking a grill. And that was the next thing. You know, he accused me of taking this grill, and
What kind of grill? You mean like a
it was
barbecue
It
backyard?
was a barbecue back grill, a $20 grill, which it was actually my own grill. But because his shitty family said, hey, you know, try to do something. This was their last shitty move, like a stupid. This is how desperate they became. A $20 grill. I mean, it wasn't. It was difficult. I mean, here I am. They dragged me back and forth to court on false accusations.
And what were the accusations? Because in the
grill
story, tell us.
and the grill and the gun. You're repeating questions. I'm getting agitated.
So, but what was the
tell the
okay?
story.
So tell it. What did they accuse you of? They accused you of stealing.
Stealing the grill.
Right.
Stealing the grill. That's
Right.
it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
This is hard.
It is hard. Do you want to
It's
stop?
hard. It's tough. I'm tired. Worry.
Okay, go ahead.
Just let me continue.
Go ahead. Keep going. I'm going to rest my arm.
All right. And then the charges got, you know, I just kept going. I don't know how. I mean, I just kept going.
Right. So you just
I kept going, and I'm incredibly tired now. I'm tired. I'm worn. I'm drained. They beat me down so much. I couldn't possibly imagine life being like this at all. And feeling like this. And being so incredibly tired and just fighting and fighting and fighting. And just taking a step at a time with little pieces of paper and envelopes. And here is...
Look at this. It's so fabulous. In order.
And it's all in order. I mean, here are the medical papers, you know? Here are the medical papers from the hospital from May, you know, from 6 months ago. And then, you know, I had to go get my stuff out of his apartment. So then I went and I put my fur coat, my beautiful, you know, $12,000 mink beautiful coat, and I went and put that in storage so that they wouldn't steal it out of the apartment. And then, you know, I have, you know, victims of crime. I have information here. I started to make little steps. I started to, you know, sending this into Harrisburg and registering, you know, for compensation of violence in their service, for their help, because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't leave my apartment. I started just not to leave. I couldn't go out anywhere. I was so afraid. I thought everybody was going to kill me, including everybody in this apartment. I just thought I thought they were going to kill me. And they made me think like that because they harassed me enough. And I thought they were. And if they thought they could have gotten away with it, they probably would have. And if somebody wouldn't have called, if I wouldn't have kept communicating and saying this is what these people are doing and they have money, and people started to listen because I kept communicating, and still kept talking and saying, look, these people, this is what they're doing. And Michael believed me, and Becky believed me, and the police started to believe me and said, yes, this girl's telling the truth. These are people with money that can manipulate the system, and we're not going to let them get away with it. And all these people played a significant part. They all played a significant part. And I have to start to close this out. And they all played a significant part. And today was the day of my hearing. And I got the last 48 hours, I have been hoping and praying for somebody to believe me.
But just say that one thing about how they called and said they were going to go all the way.
Yes, the week before, they were playing hardball with their money and their high-priced attorney, a $20,000 attorney, and saying, you know, we're going to trial. Bring your witnesses. We want the charges dismissed. We're taking no fucking responsibilities. She's lying. We're pulling up her record. She has done some things. She's lying. And we're not. Can you imagine somebody even representing people who say that? For somebody who does something like this to a human being? What kind of people are those? I don't know. I don't want to know. But all I know is that my assistant DA said, well, Theresa we're going to trial, and we have witnesses, and her family is supporting her, and we have police officers, and we have medical records, and go ahead and bring up her record, because A has nothing to do with B. Whatever Theresa has done in the past 8 years has nothing to do with what happened on May 15th. And she's going to testify to that, and so will these people. And the judge is going to hear it, and we're going all the way. Theresa will be here. So bring your attorney, and Theresa will be here with her witnesses and her attorney. And I'm going to be here, Becky Auld. And she stayed. And we went to court. And the day before, and I was incredibly nervous. And I thought, I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. I thought they wouldn't believe me. And Becky called and said, we're just going to have to do this. And we might have to, take a plea. And let me see. Just let me talk to them. And so a week went by, and she called me. She's very early in the morning. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was up, and I was perky, and I had my coffee. And I said, hi, Becky. And she said, are you up? I said, of course. 6 months later, I was up at 6 o'clock, having coffee, and saying hello to whoever was calling me. And she said, well, you're going to be there. And I contacted the police officers, and they are coming. And they're testifying. And she said, what do you really want to get out of this? And I said, I want him to take responsibility. I want a guilty plea, saying I did it. I beat her. I was wrong. I tried to kill her. I'm a piece of shit. Really. Because a man who beats on a woman is a low-life piece of shit. I can't say it any other way. I'm sorry, I just can't. And, so she called me on Monday and told me, and I told her what I wanted. And she said, well, we'll see, but they want to go to trial. And I said, okay, then I will go. I will be there. And so she called me Tuesday morning, and they were not expecting me to say that. They thought they had gotten to me. They thought they broke my spirit. And actually they did. They did. They broke my mind, body, and soul. They tore it down to the ground. Ground zero has a whole new meaning. Trust me, because that's what I felt like. I've been blown apart to smithereens mentally, spiritually, physically by this bad beating. But somehow, every little step of the way. And I did not come 6 months and go through all this hell not to say, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be there. And they're going to hear me. Whether no matter what you put in front of them, I am going to show them these pictures. I'm going to show them proof of medical records from the hospital. I'm going to show them all my little stuff. All my little legal, or my little compact legal system that I did somehow, some way. And when I think about it and look back at this stuff and all the papers, and Becky called me yesterday, on Tuesday, the day before the hearing. And me and my sister were downtown. And we were standing there, and I got off, and she said, Theresa, she said, they want to plea now. She said, she goes, they want to know what you want. And I was like, what? She said, they want to know what you want. And I said, she goes, are you willing to plea a guilty plea of assault with bodily injury and let the judge and have, drug and alcohol and have court-ordered mandatory protection? And I said, yes. That's what I've always wanted. That's what I want. I want to be heard. I want to be seen. And I want to know, I want everybody in the world to know what this bastard did to me. And I want him to admit it and take responsibility. And so she said, okay, I'll put it on the table. And they did. She did. She called back. And she said, they agree to the plea. They are taking responsibility. We won. We won. Through all this, we won. With their high-priced attorney and all their big money and their big houses and mansions in Fox Chapel and all their millions of dollars and their political connections. And little old Theresa Strosser just sitting here in my little apartment went up against all odds of big corporate people in the city of Pittsburgh and won. And we go into court today, and I thought it was done. I thought it was over. I thought it was
Hang on 1 second. Breath, let me just get to your hands again. Man, I have to just scoot over here real quick.
I gotta close this out. And,
You thought it was over.
I thought it was over. I thought the plea was done. He took responsibility. And, but I made a specific request that I wanted to still see the judge. I was still coming. After the plea agreement was signed, after all the papers, I'm still coming. I still want to talk to the judge and say what this man did to me, and that this was my decision, that I wanted to move on with my life. And I gave him a gift, that he could help with himself and work and get some responsible help. And he is not free in any stretch of the imagination. But I'm free. I have a little bit of light. And this part of the legal part is over. Because when we went in today,
And just describe that he was there. Just say he was there.
He
his
was
family.
there.
Wait, start again.
When I went into the courtroom, I was not expecting to see his family and his poor mother sitting there in a walker. And I'm thinking, why are all these people here? And the district attorney came over to me, and me and my sister were sitting there, and we walked in together, arm in arm, strong and proud, and incredibly supportive. And the district attorney came over and said, we're ready to go, and all the papers are signed, and you're here, and your sister's here, and everything is okay. We're just going to go in front of the judge, and we're going to say that we worked out the plea agreement, and then he's going to just want to hear from you, Theresa. That's what she said. Just tell him how this has affected you, and that you're this is what you want, and you're agreeable to the plea, and this is by your choice, that he's taking responsibility. And I said, okay, that's good. And I'm thinking, it's going to be done and over. And they started to walk up to the judge's bench, and she called me up, and I was standing there, and he started to read the charges. And I thought to myself, aggravated assault to the body, bodily injury, trauma to the body, physical wounds to the body, and it just kept saying, to the body, to the body, to the body. And you know what? I kept thinking, wow, that judge, it sounds so bad, but it wasn't even the body. It was my mind and my spirit and my soul that he robbed me of. It was my mind and my spirit. My body healed. My body was healed in 2 weeks, but my mind wasn't and my spirit was not. And that's when I grabbed my face and I went, they have no clue. They have no clue of what I've been through. And the DA put her hand on my shoulders. Becky said, are you okay? And I said, yes, I'm okay. I'm standing here and I'm okay. And it was a horrible flashback of what has been going on for the past 6 months. But I was standing there. I was standing there as a survivor. And I was very clear about that. Like at that particular moment, standing in the judge's room, and I had glanced over to my right, and the witnesses, I thought only one police officer was going to come, and 5 showed up. 5 officers on that day, that morning, showed up. There was 1 woman and 4 men. So I had more of a team than he did. But they came voluntarily, and everybody on his team was bought and paid for. But everybody believed me. When it came down to the very last day, everybody came. My wonderful sister came from Philadelphia, and she's been with me.
She's behind the camera.
She's behind the camera. And the police officers were there. And the DA was there, who specifically requested to stay on with this case. And when the judge asked him his name, he said Nicholas Stone. And the judge said,
Are you
"Are you related to William Stone?" And she said, "Yes, Your Honor." His attorney said, "Yes, Your Honor." He said, "How so?" He said, "That's his son." And I was standing there thinking, oh no. He said,
Me too.
He said, "That was a very good colleague of mine." And I'm thinking immediately, this is going to go south. I've lost. But it went completely the opposite direction. You have to picture this. I'm standing in the courtroom thinking, this judge knows his father, it's a colleague. And when he said, "How so?" he said, "William Stone was a very good colleague of mine." And he said, "You're his son?" And he said, "Yes, sir."
Say
Actually,
because
yes,
he's a lawyer.
Because he was a lawyer. His dad was a lawyer, a very big, high-profile lawyer in Pittsburgh. And Nick said it so proud. I heard that in his voice. He said, "Yes, sir." And the judge said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And he started yelling. The judge started to yell at Nicholas Stone, which I was not expecting. And he said, "You're his son." He said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You are a 52-year-old man, and you did this bodily injury to this woman, and you had the privilege of being the son and going to school and making a choice in your life and having the honor and money behind you of an upbringing." And he said, "This is the road you chose for 50 years. You're a piece of shit. And I don't want this plea. I'm not agreeable to this. This sentence carries 20 years plus 5. He would have died in prison." He said, "Minimum," he said, "I don't," he goes, he said, "This is minimum." He said, "Your plea is 2 years. I'm putting you in jail." He said, "You're going to jail for 2 years." He said, and then he looked over and his attorney said, "Well, Your Honor, we have his employer here, Mr. Katz, and his family and his mother." And the judge said, "I don't care who's here. I don't even want to hear from them. And why is your mother even here? Why is that poor woman sitting here with you being 52 years old, smoking crack and beating on a woman? I don't even want to hear it." He said, "You can't convince me. I'm putting you in jail." And I was standing there going, oh my God. The judge saw right through it all. He saw through the money, the power, even his friend of a father. And he said, "This was your choice, Mr. Stone. This is what you've been doing with your life. And now I want to hear from Theresa Strosser. And why are you agreeing to this? I want to put him in jail. What do you have to say, Theresa? What happened? How has this affected you?" And I told the judge that I said, "Your Honor," and I remember pausing for a minute, and I said it again. I said, "Your Honor," I said, "this has affected me profoundly." I said, "in so many different ways." I said, "But I'm standing here today in front of you where I am representing the 10,000 women who have never made it up to this point. And I wanted the judge to know that the statistics in America, one woman gets beaten every 5 minutes. So while we were sitting here doing this film, and I'm presenting this information this vital information on crimes of domestic violence and the crime of taking one's human life. He stopped me. He took my life from me physically and mentally. And I just wanted the judge to know that the statistics are 10,000 women don't make it up here standing. They don't come, they get beaten down, they die, they don't press charges, they don't follow through, or they get beaten again. And I made it. And I wanted the judge to know that I was not standing here as Theresa Strosser. I was standing here behind 10,000 people, really. And that's the truth of the matter. And I had incredible support from day one, from those wonderful construction workers calling 911, from the action to the police, from the response team, to them arresting him, to me taking little notes, from the woman driving me down to the courthouse, from me paying attention, from me not using drugs, from me fighting for my life and fighting for justice and taking little steps forward. I wanted the judge to know that I had made it here.
And from your family and your
from
mother.
My family and my mother, and from the district attorney, and from people who just would not let this go away. That I was standing representing the people who could not be for me. But I said to the judge, I said, I have to move forward. Even though you want to put him in jail, and he deserves to be there by all means, I want him to get help. He needs help. He needs to be in a hospital. He needs to be mandatory help. And jail is not institutional. It's not help. And I have to move forward. And I did not want to fight with these people. And I wanted to give them a little bit of what all these people had given me, even though they were so incredibly torturous and they harassed me. And I was standing there with all the cards on my side of the table. And I threw them one card back out of a 52-pound deck. I said, here's your card. But I'm holding all the rest because we got a guilty plea. And he admitted he's charged forever as a low-life woman beater to assault to a woman and a violent man. And he has to be watched. Now he's being watched. Now the tables are turned. Now they're going to be watching him.
Say that again. I missed that in my head.
Yeah, now they're going to be watching him. And the judge said, he said, well, I just don't even remember how it ended, but all I know is that the judge...
The protection order,
The
Terry.
protection order. The judge said, well, you're mandatory still 2 years, and you know...
Wait, just stop for 1 second. You just
Okay.
say mandatory probation.
Okay. He got a guilty plea of assault with bodily injury, okay, and probation of 2 years, but he's in violation still of another charge, and he has a very bad record. But now I can move forward because this case is closed on my end. But Nicholas Stone still has to answer to 2 more judges. And I really thought about that. That I had to move on, and I had to give him, I wanted him to get help, though. I wanted him to get help, but I wanted him to be on a leash. And he's on a leash for a long time. And he's not getting out of jail for a while. He still has to answer to 2 more judges. He's in violation. But I get to move forward now. I get to see a little hope. I get to see... I get to start to heal from today on, I get to see a little bit of light in my life now. My heart has started to beat again. After 6 months, my heart started to beat again. And that's an amazing feeling, because I kept wondering, why am I feeling like this? And I didn't even know that my heart was stopped. My heart had been stopped for 6 months. Can you imagine living in a dead body for 6 months? That's what it was like. I was completely dead, but still moving. Does that make any sense? It didn't to me. It didn't to me. And it actually did make a little sense, because I kept running for help, and I kept seeking help. I would go to the domestic violence center, and I would seek a representative who specializes in this. And I'm saying, why am I feeling like this? You know, why are these people trying to hurt me? Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel dead? Why? And nothing's getting better. Even though everything in my life and everybody kept looking at me and saying, Theresa, none of this, like you're okay. You're surviving this. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not surviving. I'm dead. That's how I felt. I'm thinking, no, I'm not. And my wonderful sister came here and told me all the research she's done, because I was representing her too, because she has been a victim of a domestic crime, and she didn't get the chance that I had today.
I was a victim of a sexual assault.
Same thing. It was violent and traumatic, but just different ways. And she needed to be here with me. I needed my sister, and she was here. And she answered that question in my head that nobody could really answer. I said, why? And she did 20 years of research. Can you imagine? After all this time, and I was doing the same thing. I was going to all these places, talking to all these people, going to a psychiatrist, going to a therapist, going to a domestic trauma, counselor, speaking to my friends, and I couldn't get an answer. And then last night, I finally got an answer. Because I was looking for a verbal answer. I was looking for a verbal answer. Somebody's going to tell me this is why. But there is none. And my sister told me why there is none. Because trauma can't be healed through language. There's no verbal answer. You have to answer it through the body, because you were hurt through the body. So now you have to go back and re-heal your body. And that made all the sense in the world. Oh my God. It made all the sense in the world. I have to heal my body. There is no answer verbally. There aren't enough psychiatrists on the face of the earth. There aren't enough counselors on the face of the earth. There aren't enough domestic violence counselors on the face of the earth. I have to go heal my body and my mind and my spirit. I have to retrain myself. And I got a little bit of that. So now that's my next step in life. And this is the next step for a lot of women today, to realize that after so long that a surviving woman could stand up there and beat the odds in the new millennium and go against money and power, and it was almost like Hollywood. It was like it's like a movie.